All right. So, man, how's the weather down there in Texas?
Not that hot, but it's getting there.
It's getting there. That's cool. That's
It's
cool.
getting there.
So, what's up with this nutrition? What's up with this diet talk, man? What you got for me?
You tell me what's the question, because I saw the post. You wanted someone to speak on diet. I was like, I'm not a guru. Um, I'm no subject matter expert, but I've given a little, experiments on different kind of diets. And, I don't like to say 2 cents these days because nobody cares about 2 cents. I like to say my 2 Bitcoins, so I got my
Yeah, you
two
got to be.
Bitcoins for that.
I heard that. So, yeah, because you actually helped me out, with nutrition in the past too. And I kind of shy away from saying diet, because um, dealing with a lot of people, they have like a negative connotation when they hear the word diet. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
they don't think long term. They think like, okay, I'm gonna.
It's a regimen. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
it's called. Yeah, it's a
exactly. Yeah,
regimen, temporary. And as soon as the word diet comes in, a lot of times the word restriction comes along with it too.
exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's where the negative connotation goes. So that's where I like to say diet stand for did I eat that? So
Ah, there. I ain't never heard that
DIET.
one.
Yeah, so did I
Okay.
eat that? So that's what it is.
Okay. Okay. So as far as I know there's a lot of diets out there or nutritional ways of eating. Like you have vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, um, meat, of course. So as far as
Right.
let's touch base on each one. Are you familiar with each one, or what are you more familiar with? Like as far as what works for you and works for maybe your clients or the people that you assisted in the past. Um, your take on that?
So first of all diet works. Okay,
Okay.
every diet works. So that's where I want to put it out there. It all comes down to what is your long-term plan or short-term plan with that aspect. So that's where a lot of times people go either the wrong direction or the right direction based on that. Now, I don't think there's one certain diet that can be applied throughout the lifespan because you have to adjust your life balances changes, your age, hormonal, environmental factors changes. So based on that, you need to kind of adjust your diet accordingly. And nevertheless, I don't think there's one person out there, female or male, who's like, hey, I'm pretty happy with it the way I am, regardless if it's 200 plus pound muscle guy or 95 pound woman aspect. So when
Yeah.
I'm speaking diet, I'm actually generalizing. I'm not speaking only men or bodybuilders or CrossFit. I'm just talking in general, holistic. So one of my first thing is, and I like to advise all the viewers and all the people out there before you start making all of these changes. I'm a very, very, very big advocate of blood work. Why don't we try starting with the basic, which is a blood work? Now, you might, or some people might ask, why do you want to do that? Well, very simple. I'll take a woman, and let's say you're applying whatever diet you're doing to lose fat or weight. And the next thing you know, things are not working, and she's blaming either the coach or, in this case, the diet. But in fact, maybe she had some sort of a hormonal problem, let's say thyroid, which limits her doing all of that aspect, which is losing weight. So since she never really got her blood work done or regular checkup done with the blood work, she's trying 2, 3 different diets and wasted, I don't know, 6, 7 months and haven't even lost 1 or 2 pounds. Or maybe she did lose 1 or 2 pounds, which was just water weight, hasn't really seen any kind of a thing. So that's why she's kind of going away from, let's say, vegan diet or meat diet or well-balanced diet. So the diet should be always a well-balanced diet. That could be whichever aspect diet you want to choose, it should be always well balanced. So
Yeah.
going back to the blood work, you gotta always want to have blood work. Same goes for a man. If a man is trying to do that, and I'm just throwing it out there. What if the person happens to be low on vitamin D
Mm.
right now? So you need to have a well balanced diet where you're kind of compensating the vitamin D aspect. Just a small little thing, right? Nothing big. So you will make sure either you take your pills or milk or some sort of form of high vitamin D
I'm
aspect.
about to get out in the sun, man.
Hey, not everyone's lucky like Florida weather, so some people, what if they're living in Washington, D.C. or Alaska
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing,
yeah. True
so
that.
so that's where like one of the biggest one is, as you know, I lived majority of the time in California, New York, New Jersey, what is it, Washington, D.C., Texas, all of that. The only time I was low on vitamin D was when I was living in Washington, D.C.,
Yeah,
and I was
exactly.
like, figure that, a person who's healthy, who works out, takes supplementation. But for the first time, I was like, hey, my vitamin D is low.
I remember you talking about that. And before we get any deeper into it, man, introduce yourself. Like, let people know your criteria. I know you've been real big in bodybuilding and fitness competitions and, coaching and things of that nature. So let people know who you are before we get too deep.
Yeah, so me and Kenan knows each other when we were like 125 pound each, and we used to work out back in the days when we were in Texas. He was all about getting big, and I was all about getting big, and we kind of liked each other's intensity at that point,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's where we got along really well with each other because he was ready to there putting out the best effort, and then me and him became really good friends as far as spotters, sharing all the knowledge we have, regardless if it's a supplementation or workouts at that point. And at that point, I was getting into competitions. I barely did few competitions. So I was a rookie back then at the time. So we did a couple of video shoots too. We will always do pose off, try to show each other who got the biggest guns and not all nothing but friendly as a brotherhood. We encouraged each other whenever we found out any kind of a new tricks or tips kind of an aspect in
Most
fitness
definitely.
world. So from there, I went more in competitions, and the more I did competition, the more I found about my body. I found about the biological and the chemistry of the body, along with supplementations too. And when I say supplementation, that goes any good products out there versus bad products, companies out there trying to make money, and that's where in the recent year new diets have been coming out, where it's intermittent fasting, vegan versus meat. And back in the days, I think, Kenneth, you can even vouch for that you were uh, used to eat meat, and that was a time you just started cutting out meat and you were trying to go a different diet at that
Exactly. Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah.
And that's where me and him were not good friends, because I can't take him any good restaurants and eat, because he would just eat beans and stuff.
Beans and rice, man.
Beans and rice
Falafels
kind of a thing. And I was all about chicken and meat and fish kind of a thing. So that
and you could, hey,
just
you can
a,
look at the physiques and tell, who eats what,
but no. But that's where I wanna cautious the viewer. His lifestyle and his end result is different than what mine is.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to go take his physique or mine and start comparing, because both of us has a different long term aspect what we want to accomplish from physique. He wanted to have a car that takes him from point A to point B. I wanted a car that takes me from point A to point B 120 miles an hour. So that's
Yeah.
it. I was able to afford the insurance and gas. And Kenneth was more of a, hey, I have a family, I got kids. So, different needs. And that's where
Yeah.
it is when me and him both shows up at a car dealership. Both of us are going to have a different car in mind, family versus longevity versus budget. So I do not want the viewers to look at it and be like, hey, if we eat meat, we're going to be looking like 200 pounds. And by all means, I do not weigh 200 pounds. I just weigh 20, 30, 40 pounds more than Kenneth do. That's all.
Hey, and at the end of the day, I used to weigh 20, 30 pounds more than he did. You know what I mean? So it's like following his journey, following my journey. I am a little bit older than him too. So it's kind of like, it was like the perfect mergence because he had a whole
Correct.
lot of more experience, more information. And actually, I was getting ready for my first show when, I met him. So it was at a perfect timing. Everything just worked out. We basically took different paths, but we got to the same location, what I'm saying, destination. And yeah, so just there's never it's friendly competition, everything. I have a lot of footage, a lot of videos of us training and goofing off and things of that nature. But it's always been like to iron sharpens iron. You know what I mean? Like the dude is legit when it comes to research and gathering information and applying it. He knows what he's talking about. So go ahead.
Right. And absolutely. And again, my thing was to look best on stage. And in stage, when we talk, we usually have nothing but like a little thong. So your whole body is revealing, versus now Kenneth is more about longevity and health and wellness, all around aesthetics and mobility aspect too. So
Yeah.
that's where it comes down a little bit different. But when you're looking at a physique, it's all materialistic, how it visually appeals. So people will go to a lot of extent doing it in order to master that craft or how the physique should look like. Versus now, Kenneth is all about internal, versus I was all, and I'm still am about external and internal too. But
Yeah.
when I'm around his age, which is like in 2 years, I'm gonna transition over to that path, where it's all
Yeah.
about longevity and everything like that, and go from there. But going back to the point, my thing is the biggest one is let's try to get the blood work, because some of the blood work aspect, just the basic aspect, blood work is gonna come up with a vitamin D, thyroid problem. For guys, it could be testosterone. And just to give you guys a little example, and you and I guys laugh at it, but I truly know a person. She's in mid 30s, and she will go to the doctor every time, and she's like, "Hey, I'm having these problems, bipolarness, whatever you want to call it, mood swings." And doctor was kept on referring her to a different psychiatrist, and they were giving her different pills and experimenting on her, and nothing was helping her out, kind of an aspect, to a point where she became suicidal. And then finally, she went to one doctor who actually did a full balance hormonal panel test on her and found out she was low on testosterone. Again, let me repeat, it's a female low on testosterone. So some of you guys might be like,
Wow.
oh, testosterone, girls don't have it. Girls do have it. It's a very minute level of testosterone, but that minute goes a little bit low. It goes red alert, where a girl will have these psychological problems, hormonal, and it's going to make her suicidal, kind of an aspect. The doctor
Yeah.
put her on testosterone therapy. Next thing you know, she's great, doing great. So that's where, again, I want you to take something from the story, is that she went from every doctor, psychologist, to different medicine, and nothing was working. And it was just as basic as getting her blood work done and testosterone,
Dang,
and
just the
that's it.
hormones. Most people don't think about that, man.
And that's where my point is, that people don't think about the basics, but yet they're trying to go in like, what pill can I take? What medicine can I take in order to do that? And the doctors are
Wow.
making more money off of it by like, okay, if this is not working, there's a new market, there's a new medicine on the market. Let's try that. Let's try that. She wasted good around 1.5 to 2 years and was very close to dying, because she said, hey, I
Exactly.
was suicidal. Nothing was working. I was having depression, up and lows, high lows, and everything. My training, I didn't wanted to do training or anything like that. And this was a perfectly looking female, mid 30s. So that's what I'm saying. Now, some of you guys might say, hey, a woman shouldn't even have these kind of problems in 30s. But that's where I'm trying to help you guys say there's no age limit for it, that
No.
hey, this is the right age to do it. It has to be 40s. I know a lot of my family members where guys have gone to doctors and they're like, hey, I want to get my testosterone test checked. And then suddenly the doctor's like, well, we don't check testosterone if it's below 40, if you're below 40. Well, why would you not want to do that? So that's what I'm saying. But you have to be able to be educated where you can rebuttal a doctor or change a doctor and be like, hey, this is my physical wellness. I want to know what's happening or what is my level. Because at 40, let's say if the guy goes low, we don't know what the base was. What did he start it off with? If it was 500, now it's 300, or was it 1,000 versus 200? Because falling from 1,000 to 200, that's a very big range of
You're very
800
big.
low. So
Yep.
that's where a lot of times men and women, if they're in a relationship, is going to affect their significant other, families, financials, all of that aspect feels, it impacts it. So that's where I'm a very, very big advocate of, hey, let's get your blood work done once a year or by every 6 months, kind of thing, and see where your things are. It's just like a car. Just, you don't want to wait for the car to say check engine light. Why don't you go take it for your regular maintenance, which is
Yeah.
oil change, get your tire pressure done and everything like that.
Switch out the
Because
cables and all the,
exactly,
new stuff.
because
Yeah.
general maintenance,
Yeah.
very basic general maintenance, because next thing you know, you're on a long drive and suddenly something's broke down. Now you got to get it towed, do this and that kind of thing. It
Yeah.
might be too late, kind of a thing.
Exactly. Yeah. You might.
So that's where one of the first one is getting the blood work done. Second, very common mistake is water intake. Based on how people are, where they are, people forget to drink. Right now, we're living in a COVID world where, hey, people are just at home and they do not take the water intake seriously. I can
Yeah.
tell you 200 people off the back which are not taking it. And one of the very basic problem they're going to have, and when I say they, it's the royal men and women, constipation. I can go put it on 8 out of 10 females are going to have constipation problem, or they don't have regular bowel movement. If you don't have regular bowel movement, what does that mean? The food is just sitting in your gut at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just making you bloated. It's not filtering it out, and it's not really healthy at that point too.
It becomes
So
toxic, and it can
absolutely,
end up getting to your bloodstream, toxicity from sitting and trying to, break it down. Yeah, so a lot of issues come
absolutely.
from
And
constipation.
at that point, what happens is, and again, I'm not discouraging any kind of the diet. A person's gonna go, maybe it's meat, so they're gonna eliminate all the meat. Now suddenly, it
That was
actually,
me. That was
no, which
me.
is fine,
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying.
yeah. That's what I
It
thought it was. I'm like, you know what? Maybe if I stop eating meat. But you're so right when it comes to drinking water and being that. Not to cut you off, but being that I'm very active, always sweating, always working out and doing things, and not putting that water back into my body. Not just H2O, but those electrolytes. I'll have a
absolutely.
lot of digestive issues as well as constipation the majority of my life. So
Correct. So let me take your story and take one component out of it, which is
yep.
being active. What if you were not active? What if you
Oh, it
will
been
have
even worse.
had a 9 to 5 job, and then you had to go pick up your kids, come home and cook dinner? So you didn't really had that time to work out or get that movement
Yeah.
where the food moves around. Now it's a lot more severe at that point.
Yeah.
So
See.
that's where another thing is. So where you're not sweating, so you don't really know if your salt and electrolytes are lower at that point or not.
You
So
don't
that's
know.
where that now it's a complete different direction the story is going in, right? Because
Yep.
you said electrolytes, the magic word. Electrolytes is tied up to what? Salt water intake, right?
Yep.
So you're not gonna know if you're not really sweating it, because and if that's low, you're not gonna sweat either way. So that's where so that's where another basics, when people start, and this is the part which is very funny to me, because when people say, hey, let's do diet, they go balls to the walls. They want to
Yeah.
do every little macros to it, to the point, but yet you didn't have the basic fundamentals covered to it. So to me, this is the same analogy as you bring your car to me and you're like, hey, I want to run a quarter mile, or I want to do NASCAR with this car. Why don't you put a bigger engine in and stuff? I'll be like, wait, bigger engine? Why not like test your car out, see
Yeah.
what is it capable of, what the
Yeah.
pipes are,
Exactly.
what's the tune up, before we start putting like a Corvette or a flying jet engine in it, kind of an aspect. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another one that comes in, which is water intake. Water intake is tied with salt. So again, I'm not going to go in some of those details. I'm just highlighting water intake right then and there.
Yeah.
Now, another aspect is when people talk about diets, and this is one of the best ones. I love talking about this one. People are like, how many calories should I intake? It's like, what does calorie mean? Why do people focus on the word calorie, where calories are made up of three facts, which is fats, carbohydrates, and protein? So that's where the aspect comes in, is people start talking about, hey, I think I'm going to go on a 1500 diet calorie, or 1800 calorie. And I look at them, and a lot of times I'm like, okay, I can give you 1,000 calories to eat and you can gain weight. And I can give you 1,000 calories and you can lose weight, and 1,000 that will do nothing. So to me, when people say 1,000, that number of calories, nothing bothers me. It doesn't faze me anything, because that's not justifying it. It's like
Yeah.
someone coming up to me and saying calories is just a holistic aspect. So someone saying, I need a car, I'll give you a car. Then suddenly you're like, no, I need a car with navigation, windows that goes up and down. I'm like, oh, okay. So now we're talking, you need some more specifics to that
Specific. Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah.
Same goes. You're like, hey, I want a house. I'll give you a dog house. And then you're like, no,
There you
I
go.
need
Yeah.
people to live in it. I'm like, oh, okay, now you're talking.
You
So
got
to
one
me, that
bedroom, but
just
no, I need a 3 bedroom because I got,
exactly,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. I need a backyard. I need this and that. And I need, flooring, all of that aspect. So now we're talking when it comes to calories, is composed of three major components: protein, carbs, and fats.
Yeah.
So now I also want to help you understand, very high level, if we had to look at a cell, biological cell in a body from nutrition aspect, it's going to have 90% is composed of protein. The surrounding of the protein is consists of 10%, which is fat. That's it. That's your cell. Now you might ask, whoa, 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 buddy, where's carbs? Nowhere to be found. Carbs will just help that cell move along in the body. So depending on how many cells you have protein, the bigger, the more the protein you have, the bigger the cells are, and the more the cells are. So technically what I'm trying to say is, in order for your calories to work, you definitely need protein and fats. That's it. You just need carbs for energy fuel.
Yeah, energy. Yeah.
So and that's where a lot of times diets will be high protein, low fats. Keto diet will work great as long as the protein and fats are well balanced. Now we can go in that debate, and that's where the little bit of a separation comes between you and I, where you want to get all your protein through animal. I'm not animal, plant based, and I might want to get it through animal and plant at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's a different conversation we can go by, again, based on the viewers. If they want to actually see more in depth on a specific diet, we can touch on it. But just to say, protein, you definitely always need protein, and you definitely always need fats to do that. Now, fats
are associated with hormones too, right?
Absolutely. And that's where I will give you personal experience, and a lot of competitors experience that a lot of times they do so high protein and carb cycling or no carbs that they're so lean that they don't have the hormonal aspect, and now they're having problems with sexual activities along with just hormonal balancing, and they're having problems with that aspect. So as soon as you add some sort of fats in, and we're talking good fats, which is avocado, nuts, salmon has it, beef has it too, or you can supplement with omega-3, 6, 9s, it actually balances out. Now, again, I want you to go back to the cell. I was saying that if you have protein and the cell looks this big, it doesn't have a outside layer which is surrounded by the fats. It's just protein right there. So it's not a strong cell. It's cell, but it's not there. So you have a room, a living room, you just don't have the outside foundation of it that says this is Kenneth's permissive, just an open layout kind of a thing. So that's where I want you to always go back to how you want to structure your diets, whatever diet you're trying to do. Protein and fats right then and there, kind of.
Okay, so let's recap. So we have blood work. Get your blood work done first, followed by make sure that you're hydrated, make sure that your electrolytes and water is on point. And the third one is
don't go by calories, go by macros, which consists of protein, fats, and carbs. Okay. So never go by, hey, I'm going to be on a 1,500 calorie diet, because now 1,500 calorie diet, what if I give you nothing but 1,500 grams protein? What is that going to do? Well, go ahead, find it out. It's going to be sitting in your stomach, nothing much. Well, what if I also give you 1,500 grams of sugar? Now you're going to gain weight. Or what if I give you 500 grams of pure sugar diet? You're still going to gain weight. So that's another aspect to it too, right? 500 is like, actually babies eat more than that. So now coming to babies, all the new parents out there, or people who are recently raised a kid, what is the one fundamental about kids? You need to feed them after every 2 to 3 hours. However, or whatever diet you do, regardless if it's breast milk or formula milk, or if they start eating. So that's another thing you need to come up with, that whatever diet you're going to come up with, let's break it up into 4 to 5 small portion meals. So that's where portion controlling comes in. Doesn't matter if you're going to eat a full burger, you can always slice a burger in half and eat half at 1 o'clock and the other half at 4 o'clock, and try to do that. So let's start with that basic. And your body's not really used to that meal timing, because you're only used to breakfast, lunch dinner. So now that's where you want to try to portion it into 5 to 6 meals and give that. Now, let me give you, all the viewers out there, analogy. What does that really mean in a real world? In a real world, you basically get paid twice a month, bi-weekly kind of aspect. What if I told you that I'm going to pay you the same salary once a month, and that's going to be on the 25th? Now, what about all your bills which are due on the 1st of the month, the 15th of the month, or in between? You're going to probably hold off because you don't have enough cash till the time you get paid on the 25th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your body is way more smarter than you. So same goes. When you are feeding it twice or once or three times, your body knows when you're going to feed it. So it tries to hold on to it as much as possible.
Yep.
So all the people who do once a day kind of eating or twice a day. So twice a day, your body knows that to hold on to it, whatever form it needs to hold on, and mostly it's going to store more like fat at that point and try to be like, okay, man, this a-hole is not going to feed me for another 12 hours. Let's try to keep on and reserve this kind of a thing. Now, what if I told the same people, I'm going to pay you weekly or daily, same amount? Now you're going to be like, okay, I have a bill paid on the 1st. I can pay it off. I'm going to be getting paid tomorrow. I can pay that one off. I can pay that off. You're a lot more free in order to spend your money. Same goes with your body. If you're feeding it more, your body's gonna know quickly that this guy's gonna, or this person's gonna be feeding me after 2 hours. Let's eliminate this. If we gotta do that by pooping, let's poop it out. Or we gotta give it to the muscles, let's give it out. Let's keep on moving it. And that's
So
how
what's
your
the pros and cons? Like say, because me personally, I eat 1 to 2 times a day, and I know I've done the every 2 hours, every 3 hours before in the past too, and I have my pros and cons, personally. But just generally speaking, like what's the pros and cons? Because I know it takes more discipline to be able to say you're only getting paid once a month. You're getting paid the
right.
same amount, so now you can't just go splurge. I'm gonna go to the movies. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna take my female out and do this because now you
Correct.
have to factor in you got to pay these bills and you're only getting paid one time versus knowing you got money coming in every week. It seems like you
Absolutely.
be more reckless with the money versus knowing that you only got one.
Okay.
So
So let me ask you the same question differently. So when you are going and your boss asks you, Kenneth, how would you like to get paid? What is going to be your answer? Or what is 98% of the people going to say?
I say 98% will say, as much as possible, maybe
Correct.
4 times a
Absolutely.
week. I mean, for
Correct. So again, it
weekly.
all comes down to your choice, right? That is your choice. So that's where it is. I'm not gonna sit here and say this is a better move because I would like you to experiment and come back to you because your lifestyle, you know your lifestyle. I
Yeah.
do not know your lifestyle. I do not know your longevity, where you're trying to go, what is
Mm-hmm.
your end result. So I'm not a person over here to say this is gonna work. Based on how COVID is, I might adapt your philosophy. But if I was out there going my 8 to 5 job and I'm out on a run, I might adapt a different philosophy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's where there's no right and wrong
No, no, it's
answer.
no right or wrong now.
Absolutely. And I can sit here and be like, hey, you know what? I like to go to the bathroom twice. And you might be like, man, I just want to go once. But that's where it is. The more I'm eating, the more I'm going to be going to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
So it all comes down to which is your preference at that point. So
Gotcha.
again, all the viewers out there, I don't want you to be like, hey, this is it. I'm just trying to help you train your thought process and your body to do that certain aspect. So now I'm going to take it to the same philosophy as me being Muslim. I'm going to say that 11 months out of the year, I have a certain weight. But now let's say if suddenly Ramadan comes up, the first 7 days I have, or any Muslim's gonna have a hardest time not eating from sunrise to sunset. And that's usually typically 12 to 15 hours.
Mm.
But after a week, your body adapts to it really quickly. And now then it starts breezing through that, hey, how it is. So
Yeah.
same goes for any person's body. It might take them up to a week in order to adjust that new regimen, regardless if it's keto, high protein, low protein, 6 times a day to 3 times a day. So
Yeah.
give it time. Be patient with it.
Be
That's what I'm
patient. Yeah.
trying to say.